For me, the top policy issues fall under one bucket of what I called America's basic bargain. We need to make that real for every single family. And that starts with having a government that actually works for working people and works for working families. That basic bargain is about the idea that you can have one good job backed up by a union. Or if you have a great idea and you want to start a small business, that there's an environment for you to do that. It's about having a level of certainty that your kids are going to get to go to a fully funded public school and that you can afford childcare. It's about making sure that if you get sick, you can actually go to the doctor and then be able to fill the prescription when you leave. And finally, it's about being able to know that you're going to be able to retire with a level of dignity in a house that you were able to afford in the first place, in a community that's safe and clean. It's why I've talked about the urgent need for us to finish the work of passing Build Back Better. But why it's also I've advocated for passing the PRO Act and making it easier for people to organize on the job, raising the minimum wage from the current $7.25 starvation level wage to $15 as a floor. It means quadrupling our funding into our Title I schools and embedding mental health services into every single institution where our young people are. It also means capping the price that parents are paying for things like childcare, and that we have universal pre-K for every single family. It's also about making sure that we allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices, that we bring down the costs of things like insulin and EpiPens and other therapeutics. And then finally, it's about passing legislation like the Social Security Expansion Act and dealing with the astronomical levels of debt, be it student debt or medical debt, that makes it impossible for so many people to buy that first home or stay in the home that they bought. I can tell you, as the Democratic chair of our subcommittee on campaign finance and elections, I have been in the thick of this issue. I was the person in the room making sure the Republicans weren't successful in doing an Arizona-style audit before the 2020 election was even done and voted on. And I think the threats from folks who want to make it more difficult to vote, to throw out drop boxes, to turn back the page on things like early voting, that threat is real. But we need to also recognize that there are a lot of people who are sitting elections out because they're not sure that any politician or any elected official is actually in it to deliver for them and their families. That's why that basic bargain, which I referenced at the beginning, is so critical. And the only way we get that done is by working together. Now, we have to be clear that right now, there are folks who are only interested in obstruction, in fudging the facts, and not operating and debating grounded in reality and grounded in the real data that we're going to need to address these concerns. Where folks don't want to work together, we have to plug forward and still accomplish things that the American people want us to accomplish. Take, for example, the American Rescue Plan. That got 0 Republican votes, but that was widely supported by the American people and had a major impact in pulling our economy from the brink during the height of the COVID pandemic. I think about the infrastructure deal, which got some Republican support, but many Republicans chose to vote against it. And yet, even they are in their districts taking credit for the critical investments in our roads, our bridges, in climate remediation, and so many other concerns. So my approach to this is to not engage in a debate that's not grounded in reality and facts, but to welcome and engage anybody who wants to work on the issues that are in front of the American people. And I've done it as a legislator, working with colleagues on things like mental health care, criminal justice reform, making sure that we're trying to lead the way on protecting our digital infrastructure and Pennsylvanians' private information. And we've been able to work on those issues in a bipartisan fashion. My hope is that when we win this race, we're going to be able to do that even more. I'm grateful for the opportunity, And thank you so much to League of Women Voters for all of the work that you do. Take care.